Hello, everybody. This is Fernando for the latest Silent Hill podcast. All right, let's talk about the next creature that I have encountered within the first Silent Hill game. Again, this is all through the walkthrough that I've been watching on YouTube. And in this case, this is by far, at least for me, one of the creepiest creatures yet. But it's only because of the inherent, I guess, scariness, fear that one has with these creatures. And I'm talking about the appropriately named Creeper, which you'll see a picture of here. Very basic, very straightforward creature. It's essentially a large cockroach, but I guess you could call the term Silent Hill sized, where it's morphed and it's changed into the ugliness that Silent Hill usually makes their monsters. And the reason why I call this the creepiest one yet is because anything involving giant insects or giant arachnids, whatever, there's just always this inherent fear, this strange feeling that one gets when you see one of these creatures walking around. I mean, it's just human nature. I mean, when you see something like a giant cockroach in your home, smaller sized cockroaches, natural sized cockroaches are fine, but when you see something this level in the game, it just adds that much more volume to its creepiness. They make a very memorable appearance within the first game. Whenever the walkthrough was happening, they emit a special type of sound. It almost sounds like a chirp of some sort, and you hear them before you actually see them. And that's the inherent nature of these creatures and how hard they are within the game, because you don't hardly ever see them unless the angle is perfect, because these creatures, they don't fly, they don't run around on the walls, at least from what I've seen yet. Rather, they simply just move around real quickly on the floor. They skitter and scatter here and there, and they nip at the player's feet, at their ankles, as a form of feeding. And when you have one of these doing it, it's bad enough, but the way that these creatures attack within the game, they always come about in some kind of 2 or 3 pairs. I don't know if it depends on the difficulty level that the setting of the player has, but at least from what I've seen from this guy, he has usually about 2 or 3 that come about him whenever he enters the room. They seem to be first encountered there in the first game whenever you enter the elementary school and you shift to the other world, then whenever they come out, again, the key thing about them is you hear that chirping noise that they do. Very unsettling creatures. It's just the size that they are. I mean, they seem to be creatures that are much larger, almost dog-like sized, or small dog sized. And so to see something like this scuttering about and then coming straight for you with no apparent regard for its own safety, that just adds to the danger and the overall uneasiness that this creature has. It's very easy to kill, though, because at least in the sense that once you have it in the right place, you can either A, stomp on it, B, shoot at it, or C, use like a melee weapon, like one of the like the pipes that the character has, that Harry has within the game. And then that's it. The guy that I was watching, he had to shoot it several times, I think at least 2 times for it to be killed. Same thing with regards to using the club. So it seems like if it's, as long as its health is relatively low and you have it in the right position, then you can take it out pretty easily. Another distincting thing about this particular creature is that what's its symbolism, it's supposed to represent the dislike that Alessa had of insects, which is common again within any humans, especially young girls. There's just, again, looking at a creature like this, it's just simply something that you do not want to be around. But B, it's supposed to actually more along the lines represent what is the creature and could be some of the people within Silent Hill morphed into these creatures. That, though, is a little bit more loose, but when it comes to the Silent Hill film, it definitely ramps up that particular aspect, because in the film the creatures that come about, the creepers, have a far more pivotal role than they do in the game, and it's only by de facto reason because they're introduced when basically 2 more well-known creatures are introduced, i.e. the Red Pyramid and the Janitor. And in this case, the Janitor, there's that distinctive scene where the janitor appears and starts stalking Rose within the bathroom once it turns into the other world. And while he's doing so, these creepers come out, and they come out by the boatloads. I mean, they come out almost like an infestation boiling out of what could be, I guess, the equivalent of festering pimples or whatever that start appearing within the walls themselves, and they come about in the hundreds, and they slowly start swarming towards, in this case, Rose. And then they also come out when Red Pyramid appears as well. I mean, you're seeing pictures of the encounter here, and they take on some of the actual miners. And then the crazy thing about these creepers, because in the game it was alluded that they nip at your ankles, kind of like as a form of feeding, here in the film, they do this outright there. I mean, you can see a scene where those poor miners are being attacked by the actual creepers themselves. And when that happens, one of them actually lands like in a sea of creepers to presumably be devoured within seconds thereafter, because you can see brief shots, they're very brief, but you can still see them, of the miners' clothings, and it looks like there are holes being generated within their miners' clothing, because these creepers are almost like piranhas. They're chewing on anything and everything that the miners have. So when that poor guy just essentially tripped and fell into that sea of creepers and was immersed within them, you don't even see him anymore because there were so many of them. Presumably he would have been stripped to the bone within seconds. So that's what could have happened to Rose within the film had the creepers reached her. And then again, as far as the symbolism of the creepers being the people within Silent Hill as part of Alessa's revenge, again, that takes on a much more prominent role, because there's a very distinct shot where one of the creepers, and this is a ugly scene, but still, it's one of the creepers where it's found to be turned over, and like a turtle, it can't squirm its way back right side. And so the cop, Sybil, sees this. And when she sees this, she's horrified to see that the creeper itself is like a little mini person. It has a little mini face. It has mandibles that could be like its legs and its arms. It recognizes that Sybil is looking at it, and then it screams, like it emits a little teeny tiny human-like growl or scream of some sort at the fact that it's in this position. And then Sybil, the cop, promptly just smashes her boot right on it and kills this thing. So that the movie again puts far more emphasis on the fact that when Alessa took her revenge on this town, she turned many of the citizens into these actual creepers to forever be either insect-like creatures or reincarnated again as these creepers forever and ever. And I say that because within the film, there's thousands of these creepers, but presumably there weren't thousands of people within Silent Hill. So Alessa must have either made the same person over and over and over again to suffer many times deaths and many times pain within the game, within the film, as these creepers to further enact these her revenge on them. They make an appearance too, also in Silent Hill 2, which you'll see a picture of here. They basically seem to have the same model, but they seem to be smaller. I haven't played the game yet, so it's a wait and see approach. But it seems like they have a much smaller size, which is, I guess, worse because it's much harder to hit these things as opposed to the first game. And then they also make an appearance within Silent Hill, the arcade game, following much along the lines of what the film looked like, the film version looked like, and the idea where they were essentially trying to swarm over Rose, and in this case, with the player being the main protagonist, they're trying to swarm over the screen, i.e. the player themselves. I've included one last couple of shots, and that is the creeper model, the very thing used within the film, which you'll see a picture of here. It looks nasty, doesn't it? I mean, whatever the developers were doing in the game, for the ones in the film, the concept art and whatever was used as the computer model was 10 times more uglier than what the game had. And then also you see a picture of here, you'll notice that in this case, there was going to be an even further iteration of these creepers looking far more human-like than they would appear in the film. And I think that they kind of went by toning it down to what we see in the film. If they would have kept it instead as the guy you see on the left with the actual visible arms with the visible legs. I think it would have been a much better route in terms of its effect. I think that they missed out on that. They should have kept it more like the person on the left, the creeper on the left, rather than the one that ended up being seen on the right. But ugly stuff, isn't it? I mean, these creepers, they have a very notable appearance again within the first Silent Hill game, but not really much hardness when it comes to killing them. But the film is where they definitely have a lasting impact. I don't recall seeing them in the second film either, the Silent Hill Revelations. So I might have to double check, but I don't recall seeing them. So it looks like their only appearance was again in the first film. All right, everybody. Thanks again as always. Take care.